good, doing good. So, looking at this year, looking at how Pekin Eastern Musketeers did. How they start out?
Started off amazing. For the first time and second time in school history, they beat West Washington at
Absolutely,
West
yeah.
Washington. 15-point victory there back in August, and then after that, it seemed to fall apart. Had promising new coach in the system, looking to be very exciting program for the season. Had one win starting the season off, first time in 14 years or however long it's been, and then just kind of fell off after that. I saw very, very promising things the first game of the year. After that, just kind of dwindled itself way off.
Just kind of went
downhill very quickly.
down the hill. Now, what would you consider to be one of looking at this? What would you consider to be one of the big positives coming out of this season, going into next season?
One of the big positives I would say was more of a feel of losing. How they understand that now they've lost for the past seasons. Seasons come up to this, haven't had a winning season in forever. Maybe they came one game close to 500 last season, but one thing they noticed this year is that losing hurts.
Yeah.
And when you do it in 9 straight games, you definitely feel it then. Because in the previous years, you've had maybe one game middle of the season you win, pick up random, like Crawford County, pick up a random win there.
Yeah.
But now they lose by hundreds of points overall their whole time span of the whole season after the first game against West Washington. They didn't pick up one win the rest of the season, and then having a losing mentality coming into the season after that one did not help them. But the positive outlook coming into the next season is that they're going to have a fresh start, and that this season wasn't for nothing. They have something to look forward to, and hopefully a higher chance of winning next season.
Now, as an announcer, because we've all been on the field. You've played. You and Brandon both have played. So, Eli has not played, but you know the game.
Yes,
you
well.
you got to know the game to be able to announce it. So that being said, what did you notice on the announcing side from just West Washington game to the next game? They go from winning West Washington to losing.
I noticed a lot of lackadaisical playing. It's like the West Washington. They had high hopes. They were ready to take care of business that first game, and then coming out against Tell City, the second game of the year, their first home game, having their shoulders held high, they were flat.
Yeah.
Couldn't get anything going. Lost 49-0, and I believe all 49 of those points came in the first half against Tell City.
Yeah.
And their defense was okay the second half, but then again, the JV team for Tell City came in and still hurting on them, held them outside the end zone for the remaining of that game. But it just seems that they flatlined after the first game of the year. They kind of overlooked all their opponents after beating West Washington for the first time in forever, and that seemed to be the repeating trend the rest of the season. I don't know how they could overlook any of their opponents. Tell City, very solid ball club, finishing one game under 500. Brownstown, going 10-0 and still.
They're heading to state. They're going to Lucas.
Exactly. They're still in the state tournament run,
Yeah.
looking to win a state championship.
Yeah.
Having no trouble doing so, and they overlooked their opponents, I feel like, and just gave up on themselves before they even had any reason to give up.
Now, do you think that at the beginning of each game? Well, okay, so let's look at this. Okay, let's look at the injury report for East Washington. Looking at the injury report, do you think that had a major influence on what happened throughout the year for East Washington?
It's going to be a very unpopular opinion, but I don't think so. I think the injury report may have caused a few given up points here and there, but it definitely didn't control the outlook of this season, especially since those injuries didn't come until week 3, week 4, week 5, midway through the season. Especially since I believe that all those injuries resulted in, now a couple of them here and there may become of a crucial hit or an aggressive hit that somebody had. It just happened spontaneously.
Right.
But I think a lot of them boiled down to them not warming up properly. I looked down on that field in pregame while I'm setting up the machine ready to get going. Their warm-ups are horrible.
Yeah.
They're walking through, they're not even preparing themselves for their body for the hit they're about to take the whole night. They're walking through their warm-ups. They're going through the motions. They're not preparing their bodies for what they're going to be needing to do that night, and it's causing injuries. And everybody at this table knows that if you don't prepare yourself, bad things are going to happen.
Right.
And I feel like that's what the injuries happened. I think they were self-inflicted rather than they were just spontaneous and happened. A couple of them here and there, yes, they were just spontaneous and happened. They were uncontrollable. But most of them were controllable, and it was all on the players at this point. They need to be more mature, more responsible, and get to the warm-ups more frequently and doing the right way to avoid these kind of injuries. I don't think they were really reflected the season, but it could cause some problems here and there.
Looking at what looking at the coach, the new coach that came in this year. Do you think Because anytime I interviewed any of the kids for East Washington, it was, hey, this coach is like so much different. He has a lot more discipline, throughout the practices and things like this. Did you see that on the field uh, as much as what I was hearing, in coach's corner every week?
First game of the year, I saw it because I had a chance to talk to TJ multiple times because he's my leading of my conditioning for track
Sure.
and field for weightlifting and stuff. And he happened to say he was back in August. He was more than ecstatic and excited to get started for this football season, ready to see what he can get Eastern football to do. Getting him out there, getting a workout. He said they had over 65 athletes in the summer workouts.
Yeah,
And then
that's unheard of. I mean,
Yeah.
for Eastern to have that many kids, I mean,
exactly.
geez.
And you get down to the September, late August, September, get ready to run your first game. They're done. They have like 30 people.
Yeah.
Barely enough to cover both sides. You need 22, and they had like 30. 8 subs.
Now, do you think that was that injury base, or do you think it was just kids going, you know what, I just don't have the power and passion for this?
I think it was athletes coming into summer workouts thinking, hey, this guy's going to turn our program around, not knowing what they're going to get into, not knowing that you have, in order to win things and be able to be successful, you have to buy into what's going to be put into the program. And I think a lot of them saw that, hey, this is not going to be me. I'm not going to be willing to put this kind of work in for the program needs. And I feel like the expectations were high, and some people met them, but others did not. And that led into people quitting and seeing that, hey, this wasn't for me. But I don't think this was a program that failed because of any particular thing. I think it was just an
Just an overall.
lapse of understanding certain things coming to come
You could say overall failure, but that's not correct either. Just because the kids still got out there and the kids still kids still put in the effort.
Right.
During practices, I don't know what the practices look like. I know that when it comes to the games and things like that first game, that I watched with West Washington, I noticed that the only thing I could actually see that was detrimental to Eastern, and you guys put a hurting on West Washington, was penalties. And I said, if they clean up these penalties, they're going to be a team to be reckoned with this year.
Right. They had I can't remember what game it was. I believe it was the West Washington. They had 8 penalties in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Now they came out to win that game. That's still inexcusable.
Right.
8 penalties is unheard of in a football game. I get in a high school football game where you
Right.
shouldn't even be penalized for stupid things like unsportsmanlike conduct. They had 3 of those.
Yes.
In that game.
Yes.
And ultimately resulted in almost nearly one person getting ejected because it was almost his second one. And that's just some of those things, like scoring touchdowns and celebrating, one thing. But doing it excessively and knowing that you have a history of losing has to be some kind of culture shock at that
Yes.
point. Knowing you win on one game and the whole season, yet celebrating a touchdown that you scored, I don't know, 6 all season out of the 10 games. It's
Right.
kind of it's unfavorable position.
So looking at you guys started out with West Washington, went to Tell City. Tell City, they're still good. I mean, they did pretty well within the sectional. The sectionals as well. Then went to Brownstown. What was the third game on that?
Brownstown was the third game of the season.
Okay, so you have the West Washington, which they won.
Yes.
Tell City, then Brownstown. Then how did it go? What was the rest of the schedule like?
Well, the rest of the schedule came out to conference games, and a lot of those conference teams, there's really only 2 conference teams that really have any kind of culture behind them right now. It's Brownstown. I guess there's only one.
Yeah.
Only one I can think of is Brownstown, and maybe Corden finally finding their way around.
Yeah.
After having a few big wins this season.
Right.
But they walked into Brownstown the third game of the year at Brownstown, got thumped 62-0.
Yeah.
Had a running clock to start the third quarter, which is absolutely horrendous for any kind of program. The September 13th, last year at Silver Creek, had a chance to win the game.
Yes.
They
yes.
ended up throwing an interception in the last 30 seconds, which cost them the victory. This season, the exact same thing happened. One interception, had a chance to win the game, ended up losing by 6 points once again. Holding themselves accountable is the reason they lose these games. They just don't do it. And then Corden was a game that they thought they were absolutely going to blow Corden out of the water. Corden came in there, beat him by 29 points.
Wow.
Beat him by 29 points. That's inexcusable.
And it just kept getting worse and worse throughout the season, didn't it?
Well, I mean, if you want to consider them scoring maybe 1 or 2 more touchdowns than they did the last game,
Yeah.
it could be potentially more beneficial. But no, every other game seemed to be getting worse and worse, and they gave up less points as the season went on. They got Scottsburg and ended up losing to Scottsburg 51-7. After a Scottsburg team that's subpar and not necessarily the best team you could ever find in any kind of high school football program, but they still walked in there, and Scottsburg knew what they were doing. They knew how to play the game, and Eastern just overlooked them because the program was led a certain way for 9 years, and you come in here and change it immediately.
Yeah.
It's what you need to do, but you can't expect results when you do it immediately like that.
Right.
And that's how it has to be. You walk in there, you change the thing, boom, immediately. You
Right.
go to set these boundaries and expectations have to be met. But when you're losing games like this,
Yeah.
it has to be understood that it's not necessarily because we're terrible. It's because we have something changing this year that hasn't been like this in forever. And I feel like that happened after the second game of the year, and it kind of spiraled into a reflect of the rest of the season after that.
So looking at the bad and the ugly, we've pretty much covered that, with this at this point. So looking at the
Well,
good,
the good and the positive was never there.
well, yeah, looking at the good, is the season is wrapped up. We're going into next year, and one thing how many seniors was on Eastern's team this year?
I think 6.
There was 6.
I think 6.
And I think I think all 3 of the teams had about the same amount, 5 to 16, 5 to 6 seniors on a team.
Right.
And the way to build a program is not with just 5 or 6 seniors on a team.
Correct.
I mean, you know that every team that you're looking at there that's actually been successful, they're looking at 12 to 15 seniors on that team.
Right.
Kids that have played together ever since they was in 5th and 6th grade. So that's what I think Eastern, West Washington, and Salem need, is to build that program from the bottom up, and hopefully, do you see that at Eastern?
I do not. What I see is that a new coach comes in. Obviously, this year's the first year for a new coach. You had the same coach for 9 years now. New coach this season. I saw usually when you're rebuilding a program, you think of it starting at the freshman age, because the freshmen haven't seen the culture of the high school program until this year, and they're seeing it the way you do for the first time. That's the people that are going to absorb it the quickest. When you go up to the seniors, then again, they're crucial to the whole program.
Yeah.
But they're not going to react as well to your change of program.
Right.
And it's going to happen so quickly that you're going to put your reliance on those seniors, because they're the most experienced football players, not necessarily the most talented, but the most successful, or I guess most experienced. That's like most experience.
Right.
Playing high school football, that you're going to try to implement your programming and your structure into them the most, and kind of leave out your freshmen. I guess I can see, they try to. I see that at Eastern a little bit, but I see that they should reverse the rules from bottom, like you said, bottom up.
Yeah.
At the freshman, because it's their first time seeing a high school football program at that first kind of look of structure.
Right. Well, hopefully, some big changes come to Pekin next year, and regardless of what has happened with of any of what we're not going to talk about, hopefully next year, they're going to come back and have more kids and get this program rebuilt. That's what it really needs to be at East Washington.
Right, it needs to be just rebuilt from scratch.
Yeah.
Almost like you need to just tear everything away, forget you had it for a whole year, and then come back and revisit it once you have an idea of what needs to be done.
Right.
And everybody had the right idea. Hiring a new coach, not a part of the corporation, from about an hour away, lives up in North Vernon.
Yeah.
Great idea. The most perfect thing you could have done.
Right.
And they came with the excellent mindset. Came in with, hey, this program's going to be rebuilt. We're going to win games. This program's going to go from worse to great. And it did for the first game. And after that, it looked amazing first game. Coach got a Gatorade bath. And after that, the other team's coach getting a Gatorade bath every game, because you're winning by 60-plus points.
Right.
And it's something that needs to be rebuilt very quickly and addressed at every single athletic meeting that you can have. I've been to a few coaches meetings now, being a coach track.
Yeah.
I've been to all the athletic coaches meeting, and they're not addressing the situation we have with football.
Right.
And maybe it should be addressed. How we're going to be able to maintain this program in future years, knowing how bad it's been in the previous year, putting all this money into it and getting nothing in return.
Right. Absolutely.
It needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
Yeah. So if you're listening out there, Eastern people, let's get it together, and let's make. I'm going to say this: we need to make Washington County football amazing, and we need to start with all 3 teams going from where we're at right now. We need to build each one of these youth programs up to that way when they get into the high school, because you can't rebuild a program in a year. We know that. You can try to get a better season. I say that, and IU is like 10-0. I mean, and they're going into this next week playing your favorite team, and man.
In 2 weeks.
That's right.
They got to buy this week.
They got to buy this week. So yeah.
They got to prepare themselves for a loss in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
I did go to the IU game Saturday.
Yes.
And I hadn't been to an IU game in years, and it was probably 10.
Yeah.
Probably last time we went together when your family went with my family.
Yes, right.
And it's just different.
Yeah.
Back then we had tickets up by the press box. By the second quarter, we were sitting on the first row.
Yeah.
And we get into the stadium Saturday, and you slowly start seeing it fill in, and you look around, there's not a single empty bleacher there. It's 52,000 people sold out.
Yeah.
And you're like, I waited 20 minutes to get into the men's bathroom. I've never
Yeah.
done that before. And I was like, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
Right. Previous season, you could walk in there for a ticket price of a soda can at a gas station, $1.50, and now you're paying upwards of $200 to $300 a ticket for the
Right.
nosebleed section.
Right.
And they're selling that place out, what, 6 times this season already, maybe
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And then and thankfully for them, it's at Ohio State in 2 weeks because they
Oh, yeah.
They could obviously that place holds 110,000 people. They
Right.
could bring in a bigger crowd because they hold 55,000 at IU.
Right.
Bringing 55,000 people up to Columbus.
Yeah.
4-hour drive, but hey, bring them up there.
Oh yeah. I get there will be a lot of IU, people up there, guaranteed.
Well, College game day is going to be there, so I'm sure it's going to be packed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right after this.
Sprained ankle, swollen joints, and no time for an appointment? Schneck Medical Center has you covered. Visit our orthopedic walk-in clinic for expert care. Our specialists provide fast attention to a number of bone and joint problems. No appointment necessary. Available Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. For more information, visit schneckmed.org. Schneck, healthy together.
The Shaq-a-Roni is back. Get the extra cheesy, extra pepperoni pizza with extra large slices only from Papa John's. A pizza so big, you're going to have to share it. We're talking 8 boldy, foldy, shacky, stacky slices. It all starts with Papa John's fresh, never frozen original dough, hand stretched into an extra large pizza. Then it's topped with extra cheese and extra pepperoni for that ooey gooey, peppy, pleasy taste. Order one today online or with your Papa John's app, or call the Salem location at 812-883-3369. Each Shaq-a-Roni pizza is $12.99. Remember, better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Better get you some Papa John's today by calling Reese at the Salem store at 812-883-3369.
At Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, we're good at insurance. But not just any insurance. We're good at...
No.
Did you forget the parking brake? Yes, you forgot the parking brake. Insurance. When the forecast calls for cheese ball-sized hail, insurance. Even shouldn't have parked under that tree. Insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
This is Becky White from WSLM, and I'm here at the beautiful John Jones showroom in Salem, Indiana for the John Jones Auto Minute.
Fall is in the air, and so are the incredible deals at John Jones Auto Group. As the leaves change colors, so should your ride. Drive off in style this season with our spectacular fall savings. From sleek sedans to rugged SUVs, we've got a perfect match for your autumn adventures. Enjoy cozy comfort with heated seats. Get spectacular views of the fall leaves with a panoramic sunroof, or take that trip with a brand new whip. Our friendly team at John Jones Auto Group is ready to help you find the perfect vehicle with financing options that fit your budget. So why wait? Swing by John Jones Auto Group today at one of our 4 convenient locations, Salem, Scottsburg, Greenville, or Corden, or visit us online at johnjonesautogroup.com to browse our full inventory. This fall, drive away with a deal that's as refreshing as the season. And remember, at John Jones Auto Group, you see so many because they pay so little.
Drew and Jonathan Scott here to tell you that American Family Insurance is committed to protecting your dream home so that your family has a place to share laughs, celebrations, and milestones.
Which is why their new homeowner discount rewards customers who have purchased a new home in the last 3 years with a discount on their homeowner's policy.
American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
Contact Rodney Bruff, agent at Rodney S. Bruff Agency Incorporated at 812-277-1400 today.
Discount and savings amounts and eligibility will vary. Some restrictions apply. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin. Products not available in every state.
And we are back and live. And I'll tell you what, we've had a great conversation with Eli talking about East Washington football. And tell you what, we're trying to get excited about this next year. And now we're going to talk to Brandon and find out what's going on here at Salem. So how's it going, Brandon?
Well, it's going. I'll tell you that. Football season was up and down.
It was, and what's crazy, and for both of you, and I know you guys probably both felt the same way. You were thinking, oh my gosh, it's almost football season, and this anticipation, and watching Gavin go to practice every day, and just thinking about, oh my gosh, it's high school football, and then we get there, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's high school football. Halfway through, we're going, oh my gosh, it's half over, and then when now we're sitting here and it's like it's over. It's over.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It sucks.
It's my favorite time of the year.
It
I
is.
love watching
It is.
football.
Me too.
And what really, last weekend, me and Tara sitting here and we're looking at each other on Friday night, and it's like, well, what do you want to do?
No, I'm with you there.
What do you want to do?
We, Zoe and I, because obviously Zoe was our sideline reporter.
Yeah.
So Friday night we were kind of sitting there, and I actually had to work till 7, and then, which is normally my day off, and then we were just like, okay, well, we called Zach and we went to B-Dubs.
Yeah.
So we went and ate some wings, and then
Watch Division II football on TV.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then came home.
I can't honestly. I think I got in a hot tub. I got in a hot tub. Just
What a problem to have.
I was by myself too, so I was
I had
like,
that problem.
Yeah, I know.
I was just sitting there by myself, just hey, I'm in the hot tub watching the stars.
What a problem to have.
Yeah. So let's go through the Salem season.
So kind of like Eli stated with Pekin, is Salem started out really hot.
Yeah.
We beat North Harrison.
That was huge.
Like the second time that I can remember. Once was my senior year, and once was this year. Salem came out. North Harrison obviously, at that time, looked extremely down from what they had been. They came out in the same style, run the ball over your face offense, and Salem defended it well. Salem's offensively, Logan Dent played great.
Yes.
The offense just rolled, and then we beat them by 10. So everybody's like, wow, Salem football might be back. And then we went on a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah.
And not a single one of those games was close.
Story of our life.
Yeah, well, kind of like Eli talked about. We went to Silver Creek, and we got beat 41-8. But Silver Creek was firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
The first half of that game, it was a close game. First quarter, I think, was like maybe a one-score difference, if not tied. And then we go into halftime. We're still in it. And right before halftime, Silver Creek scored, I think, twice.
Yeah.
Went up, a couple touchdowns. After halftime, Salem just came out defeated. They looked like they had just been getting whipped on the whole game.
Yeah.
We lose that game by 33 points.
No, at that point, was everyone healthy at Salem?
Yeah, I believe so. Noah Dalton got hurt early in the season. I don't know if it was week 1 or week 2
That's
or
right.
week 3.
I think yeah.
But I think it was week 1 because I think it was at home.
Yeah, and he's such a huge asset to that team, too.
Yeah, it could have been week 4 against Brownstown. But, I think really that's the only injury we had.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I know Maul, he was out sick for, a couple weeks.
I think he missed Scottsburg and Brownstown, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was there for the Silver Creek game. But like we talked about, Salem just came out flat, and they looked like they had for the last couple years.
Yeah.
And then after that game, we went over to Scottsburg. Obviously, Scottsburg's not known for having a great football program. And
the game of the game of 56?
Yeah, the Battle of 56.
Battle of 56, yeah.
Which was not a big deal when I played, which was sad.
Oh, yeah.
Because we'd have had the sign every year.
Yeah, exactly.
But we go over to Scottsburg. Everybody's got high hopes. Scottsburg's quarterback throws for 280 in the first half.
Oh, my.
We're down like 40-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, now this is the best Scottsburg team that I've ever seen.
Right.
I think the quarterback ended up throwing for like 308 and like 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
And it wasn't really like he was. He made some great throws. Like the kid's a stud.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he was under pressure. He was standing in the pocket for 10 to 15 seconds every single play, and then throwing the ball from here to that door, which is 15 yards.
Yeah.
And to a wide open receiver with nobody within 10 yards of him.
Right.
I bet he only threw. I think he threw for 308, and I think he probably only threw 2 balls over 20 yards.
Wow.
His receivers were standing wide open. They caught it and took off with it. There was nobody on defense around. Scottsburg also had one of the top rushers in the state this year. His name was Landon Shuck, and that kid was insane. He was like number 2 in the state at one point late in the season, and he was just an absolute stud. And Scottsburg by far was the best Scottsburg team I've ever seen. I know you talked about Scottsburg not being great, but that was by far single-handedly definitely the number 2 team in the conference that we played at least.
And they went pretty far in sectionals this year, didn't they?
They went to round 2. Round one like 60 to nothing or 72 to 7, I think.
Yes.
And then they played Madison, which that was their first loss of the year.
Right.
Because they went into I think they went into sectional 6-3.
Yeah.
Or 7-2 or something like that. And with that loss being to Madison, and then I don't know what it was, but I mean they would only put up like 8 points.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if Madison's a lot better than what they look on paper, but yeah, I mean they made it to round 2 pretty easily, and then lost to Madison. But that was definitely the best Scottsburg team I'd ever seen.
Now you know, looking at the Salem team though, you know, from last year to this year, I did notice a huge difference, and this is something that, you know, since you didn't really announce last year,
Yeah.
You know, and I've known all the kids for a long time. Looking at those kids from last year to this year, huge difference when it comes to muscle, when it comes to how big they were, their discipline level. Last year, you know, it was an absolute disaster when it come to, you know, penalties on, you know, on just the stupidest stuff.
Just the stupid mistakes that you shouldn't make. Like he talked about with the unsportsmanlike penalties.
Absolutely.
Just stupid mistakes you can't make. Yeah. And, you know, I can tell you exactly what that stems from. You know, Coach Hartsfield was here for 7-8 years. Everything was very detail-oriented. Now, if you know Coach Hartsfield, that doesn't seem right. But everything was on a schedule. Everything was very detailed.
Absolutely.
We were all incredibly disciplined.
Yes.
And then after he left, Coach Thompson came in, and all that accountability went out.
Yes.
There was nobody getting held accountable for any mistake they made.
Yes.
You know, you had some big players on the team making some really stupid decisions before games and stuff like that. And so Coach Gleason kind of came into the same thing that Coach Newton came into at Pekin, a program that had no accountability, a program that obviously, you know, with the athletes we had for those few years with Thompson, we won games, but all the talent was down in the areas around us. And so he came into that, and it was like a shock factor for the kids. You know, it wasn't you can just act however you want. Like he's very detail-oriented, very disciplined.
Yes.
And so last year, I think that was a shock is he had to essentially build the program back.
Yeah.
And because, you know, the Salem football program had kind of just dwindled.
Right.
And he built it back. And this year there was definitely, like you said, the kids got more used to doing things his way.
Yeah.
Which is what I hope for Pekin next year is that they get, you know, kind of the same thing Salem did of like, okay, this is our guy now. This is how we have to do things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that was really the big change from last year to this year is the kids accepted more accountability and discipline than they had in the last few years.
Because, you know, if you look at, you know, the record for the last 2 years, you know, since Brian has actually been in that position, you know, the first year, not great.
Yeah,
you know,
I think it went, 3-7?
Yeah, and you know, you talk to Coach Gleason, he'll tell you the same thing. Yeah, it wasn't great, but, you know, we're building a program. This year, record a lot different.
Yeah, absolutely. And now this year there was definitely games we lost that we should not have lost.
Yes.
There was no reason our team should have been 5-6.
Right.
You know, that at least that should have been flipped to 6-5.
Right.
And that's what we're going to get to as I work my way down more the schedule. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that Coach Gleason truly got all the effort out of his team that he could have gotten, and it's not his fault. I think it's because for the last few years the teams had no discipline.
Yes.
And they haven't had to been forced into, okay, we need 100% on every play. And I don't think really, one thing that we talked about when I was in high school is, and I'm sure Eli's same way with basketball, is you got to play every play like it's your last, because it very well could be.
Absolutely.
And the kids just didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, they saw kids taking plays off, and, you know, in the secondary, they're running the ball. The kids are just standing there.
Right.
On offense, like the run's going the other way, they're just standing on the left side. If the play's going right, they're just standing there. So I don't think we had 100% effort every play in and out that we need.
Right.
Right. And I think that's a big thing for Salem's that being 5-6 in a season with only a second-year coach, that shows trending in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Shows that he's getting his program under control.
Right.
And that next year, maybe even 7-4.
Right.
8-3.
Right.
Having, and hopefully maybe in a better record winning a sectional championship or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that's trending the right direction in a
Correct.
program. Something that Eastern needs to look in on and see is that, hey, Sam's doing something right. They're building a program based off discipline, playing each play like it's your last,
Right.
and going deep in everything you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, after the Scottsburg game, we came back home, you know. First game at Jim Ralston Field, we got the big win. We come back home against Brownstown. Now, Brownstown obviously is a very well-rounded football team. So we lose to Scottsburg 54-7.
I see a trend here with Brownstown.
Yeah.
Everyone loses to Brownstown.
And you know, our 5-game losing streak, we didn't lose these games close. We got smacked.
Yes.
We lost to Silver Creek 41-8, Scottsburg 54-7. Then we come back to Brownstown. And going into that, you could just tell the kids knew, like, we're going to get beat by 40. And they didn't care.
You know, wonder if also, you know, and same thing with all three teams. And it's like, you know, you get to a point to where, you know, when they get down a couple scores, it's like all of them, all the kids just fall apart.
They just lay flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like okay. there is no, you know, Tom Brady or, you know, Peyton Manning is sitting back here going, okay, we're down 4 touchdowns, boys. Let's we got 4 minutes left in the game. Let's go ahead and win this.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have that. You know, we need that mentality.
Yeah.
At Salem, at Eastern, and at West Washington.
Yeah, and you know that Brownstown game, Brownstown's been good for 32 years under Coach May. You know, I don't think he's ever had a losing season. He's only had 64 losses in 32 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, I mean, he's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes.
I think it's probably the best current coach in Southern Indiana.
Yes.
And maybe in the state completely. And, you know, we went into that game, lost 54-12, and it got out of hand quick.
Yeah.
I think one of our touchdowns came against their JV. And that team is difference between Salem, Eastern, West Washington, and Brownstown is Brownstown, those players don't make mistakes.
Right.
They do everything right every single time.
Right.
And when I was in high, I knew some kids from Brownstown, and they talked about if they ran a play and it wasn't completely perfect, Coach May made them run it over and over and over until everybody made the correct steps.
Yes.
Everything. So it was drilled in their heads.
Yes.
And you can tell that. I mean, those kids could run that offense, and it's not an easy offense.
Right.
But they could run it in their sleep.
Yeah.
And we host Brownstown. You know, we lose 54-12, and after about the second play of the game, you could just tell, like, this is going to be a 40-point game.
You know, when you look at, you know, a team like Brownstown, and, you know, because East Washington, Salem, and West Washington all go all the same. You know, we practice the same schedule. You know, it's Monday through Thursday. You know, I wonder if on Brownstown's schedule, if there's more time in their schedule than what there are in all of ours. And the reason I say that is because, like you said, Brandon, every play has to be perfect.
Yeah.
Now, by saying that, how much time during the practices do we go out there and, you know, we do calisthenics for 40 minutes, then we have, you know, this for 20 minutes, then, you know, we don't hone those skills to the point that Brownstown does.
Well, I do know that Salem started doing this under Coach Gleasing, but Brownstown practices every Saturday morning. You know, you play Friday night and you're back in Saturday morning early.
Yeah.
And I don't know how things are now, but when I was in high school, they were in there at 6 a.m. lifting every morning before school. And that way that they could practice.
Yes.
And it wasn't like they got out at 5:30 every day. They got out when Coach May was done with practice.
Yeah.
And if they were kept messing up plays, that may be 6:30.
Yeah.
And but there's a reason that he has 2 losses a year for 32 years, because he's built a culture up there. He's built this is how it's going to be done, and you're going to like it, and that's what he does, and that's what every player up there buys into every single year.
It's not just players; it's parents, it's the teachers, it's the administration.
It's a different culture up there.
Right. Well, the way I see it is, you're all completely right, but it also stems back to the players. I think the players, whether they're at practice or not, are working on these things.
Yeah,
they know
absolutely.
when they walk into practice, they know if this isn't perfect, we're going to be here all day.
Right.
So they got to work on it at home as well.
Yeah.
Go over these plays. Have a sibling or a parent walk through steps with them in plays. Look at their playbook. They walk through different motions.
Yeah.
So they know that when they get to practice, it's perfect.
Right.
It's all goes back. Now I don't know one player at each. I talked to all. I went to high school with a couple of them. Up to last year, I did. Not one of them practices stuff at home.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one kid that I can name off the top of my head that it buys into their program in our area, and it's your son. Gavin is working at home. He's asking for help. I worked with him.
Yeah.
And like Eli said, I don't know any of the Salem kids that do that. So I think great for Gavin to be willing to buy into a program to do it at home. But you're right. I mean, that's what the Brownside kids are doing. You know, they're at home studying the playbook. And they have they have a short playbook.
Yeah.
But it's a complex play.
Yeah.
And
it is.
There's There's only one way to stop their offense, and that is there's 11 on offense and 11 on defense. So if you're defense, you tackle who's ever in front of you, regardless if they have the ball.
Right.
Yep. And everyone on that team has got
Yeah.
to know how to tackle.
Yes.
Well.
Yeah, and that's what we did when we played them. Is Coach McCartney,
Yeah.
older Coach McCartney,
Yes.
Ryan. He
Love
did a
that
thing.
guy.
He did a
Love
thing called
that
a
guy.
quarter drill.
Yep.
And we practiced that entire week without a football.
Yeah.
He would get his huddle. He would give the quarter to somebody, and you only, found the quarter if everybody was doing their job and tackling
Right.
who they were. And we kept every Brownstown game close
Yeah.
until we didn't.
Right.
And that was when we didn't was, we'd put up 28 points on offense. And it would be, 28-21 going into the fourth quarter. And then
Right.
it was 42-28.
Yeah.
Because people were like, okay, now I've got it. I've done this for 3 quarters. I know where they're going. And then you see 4 players going in different directions,
Yeah.
and you're tackling them, but somebody's running up the middle of the field wide open.
Right.
And that's just what Brownstown does. And this was the best Brownstown team I've ever seen, hands
Yeah,
down.
Absolutely.
I've seen a lot of good ones. This was the best one.
Yeah.
And let me make a comparison real quick. So, don't mean to interrupt you, Brandon, your time, but
No, you're good.
make a comparison real quick. That system that you just talked about, the quarter drill and stuff like that for football, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Walk into my junior and senior year of basketball. Freshman year in basketball, we won 1 game. Sophomore year, won 2 games. People are like, "Oh, you doubled your wins." Yeah.
We won 2 games.
Yeah, you won 2 games. Thanks for the compliment.
Yeah.
And then junior year, we won 12.
Yeah.
And then those same exact thing, got a new coach. Those same exact things, different drills. Went the whole couple hours of practice every day without a basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk through plays, walk through drills.
Right.
Did different things that worked towards the game of basketball. Not, basketball is basketball because it needs a basketball. Doesn't
Yeah.
not because it has to have one.
Right.
It's just walking through those different things without a basketball helps you. In my senior year, we won 18 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. It's an amazing system, and it works.
Yeah.
That's why if those implemented at Salem like they had been, they work. Eastern,
Right.
it works.
Right.
Why fix something that's not broken?
And another thing is, talking about that is, we talked about the defensively, but offensively, I mean, Salem had a lot of broken plays this year. I'll get into that a little bit more, but I won't say much about Springs Valley. That's a good football team. They had an
they were good.
unfortunate draw the first week. They played Providence,
Yeah.
who's still in it.
Yeah.
Springs Valley had a kid. He was a running back. His name's Christian Hamilton. I think he
Absolutely.
was number 2 in the state
Yep.
by the end of the year.
I said his name a lot when West Washington played.
Yeah, we didn't even, my thing is, I mean, he carried the ball probably 10 times against
Yeah.
us, but he had 170 yards.
Yeah.
The kid was insane.
Yeah.
Corden, that's just, that's an unfortunate game.
Yeah.
We went down to Corden. I think everybody came in kind of like Pekin did. Oh, we're going to whip Corden. They're not any good. We lost 10-6.
But we were talking also, when we were during commercial break, we were talking about how the refs do the same thing with Kansas City.
Yeah.
I can tell you this: anytime I've ever gone to Corden, been absolutely insanely horrible refs that have always favored Corden.
If you want me to be honest with you, that wasn't even our issue.
Really?
I think Corden probably had more penalties than we did. We just played terrible football for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And, we put the ball in the end zone 1 time.
Yeah.
Corden put it in 1 time, but they also kicked a field goal. We didn't have a field goal kicker.
No.
And, we had a kid that came in as a foreign exchange student this year. Unfortunately, he didn't get eligibility. The
Yeah.
IHSA wouldn't give it to him. Had we had him, we probably could have tied that game up.
Yeah.
But, we went down to Corden, and the team came out, looked horrible.
Yeah.
Looked like they had. And then after that, we went to Pekin. And if you want me to be honest, as the announcer, I was coming into that game of this could be a good game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we saw Pekin beat West Washington.
Right.
We saw Pekin keep Silver Creek close.
Yeah.
We saw Pekin, so, and you kept hearing about Pekin, this team's different. They lost their running back earlier in the season.
Right.
And, Pekin came out and they just looked awful.
Yeah.
And we beat them 37-7. Then we went to hosted Charlestown. Charlestown's they're down bad in their program right now.
Now, Eli, real quick about the Salem and East Washington game. So the coach, the assistant coach, came in and actually talked to me on a coach's corner that week after that was over. He had told me that they only dressed 12 players.
Pekin?
Yeah.
I believe it.
Did you notice
I
that?
don't. You weren't there, were
Was
you?
you there?
I was not there that night.
So-
I'll tell you what. Their roster was short.
Yeah.
But their sideline looked small.
Yeah.
They could have very well only addressed 12 kids.
Right.
There was the same kids everywhere.
Yeah.
And one thing that stuck out to me is Pekin came out in a very odd formation. Eli didn't really touch on that, but it was a very one-sided formation. You
Yes,
probably saw it.
yes.
And that formation could work.
Yeah,
if
it did.
if the kids ran it right, but it
Yeah.
didn't work against us. You
Right.
know, Pekin came out and they looked like, I hate to say it, but true Pekin football.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, they had a small team, so that very well could be right. They didn't really have a whole lot of subs. Like you said, they had 8 subs on their roster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. They didn't really see that. I didn't really see a whole lot of kids on their team. But after that one, we beat Charlestown by 20.
Yeah.
Charlestown's a terrible football
Which
team.
was absolutely insane that you guys beat them by that much.
You know, our
They only had they had a lot. They had a pretty good injury list. I heard.
Yeah.
They had Boomer. He was about the only one.
And he
that-
left in an ambulance and a helicopter after that game.
Gosh, that poor
he,
kid.
he got staff flighted because of a big hit he took and a concussion.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll tell you could have changed that game drastically. I don't know. You didn't get to see Charlestown play, did you, this year? And I know you weren't there.
I did not.
So Boomer is an absolutely amazing athlete. The kid's a stud.
Yeah.
As a running back.
Yeah.
When we played him, he was playing quarterback.
Oh. Yeah.
And they were just running quarterback runs with him.
Right.
The issue after halftime, we're up 20 at 30 points at halftime.
Yeah.
And after halftime, they switched. They went to a North Harrison style offense, I formation, tossed the ball to their athletes. They put up 22 points the second half. Why didn't they do that? The whole season. That team was like a 1-10 team, 1-9 team.
Right.
And I think truly, if they would have put Boomer at tailback, their other stud running back at fullback, and just pitched them the ball, I think that team would have won 4 or 5 games.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Charlestown came in plagued with injuries, got a few more during that game. There was a kid that busted like a 70-yard run in that game. I mean, they were athletic. Now they weren't typical Charlestown athletes because all of those kids I heard moved away.
Yeah.
They all went back to Jeff.
Wow.
And then we played.
Which has had a heck of a season this year.
Yes, and that's why, because they got all their athletes back.
Right.
I heard there was some stuff going on down there. They had the way I understand it, and this is to be straightforward, is they had a white coach come in, and all their kids moved.
Wow.
And then he left, and all they came back.
Wow.
And that was, I think, pretty much the extent of what happened to Jeff.
Yeah.
Then we played West Washington. I came into that game, and I was like, West Washington could be a good football team. Coach Lowry's a great coach.
Right.
Gavin's, he's understanding the offense and stuff.
Right.
And West Washington just looked awful.
Yeah, looking at that game, looking at, and we'll get into that game a little bit more, but that was one game that I thought, 2 evenly matched teams.
Yep.
That should have been a great football game.
Yeah.
And it was so one-sided.
I mean, I thought that was probably one of, other than maybe Corden, I thought maybe Salem, West Washington was the most evenly matched up game we played all year. And one thing that stuck out to me is Gavin's obviously athletic. Coach Lowry didn't let him run the ball in the first half. I think he ran it twice in the whole game, and he had a 19-yard carry on one of them.
Right.
So obviously with the option and stuff like that, it looked like they were running the option. You would expect more quarterback runs, but I don't really know what was going on there. But I mean, West Washington did not look like what I thought they were going to. They didn't throw the ball at all. I think Gavin had negative passing yards in that game.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuck out to me. We didn't really know what was going on. But then we got into sectional time, and the way Salem's sectional draw was, Salem very well could have played in the sectional championship.
Yes.
We drew Clarksville week 1.
Mm-hmm.
That was the worst football team I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I think they turned the ball over 4 of their first 6 drives. Mm-hmm. It was like 50-something to nothing at halftime, 40-something to nothing or something like that at halftime. And I feel bad for Clarksville. They've got some kids that could be a good football team, players at another school, but that goes back to the buy-in thing.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to buy into that program.
Discipline.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's how it's been even when you were a freshman, I think, in high school. I mean, I remember, you think, I'm 50 years old, so, I remember times when Clarksville, when they were coming to Salem, it was like, all right, this is the game because they were that good now.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest with you, Coach Hawk over in Charlestown, his dad was the coach for Clarksville then.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So,
which that's what they need, though.
That's what they need.
Yeah. They need somebody who's going to come in there and discipline those kids because they have no. When I was playing them, Charlestown and Clarksville both horribly disciplined teams.
Yes.
They had kids that went to jail right before we played them for attempted murder.
Yeah.
Or armed robbery.
Yeah.
They were terribly. They were bad disciplined teams. Now Charlestown was good back then because they had Marion Lukes.
Yeah.
And he's up at Central Michigan, I think now. But Clarksville and I'm not lying to you. This is going to sound like I make this up, and I'm not lying to you when I tell you this. They handed the ball to the running back. He took off running with it, dropped it, and stood still.
Didn't even try to jump on it.
No, he didn't even get hit. He was running by himself and
he
just dropped it.
it.
He just literally stopped and just let go of the ball. And I mean, it was just that team has no discipline. They have no kids that want to be good at football. And then after that game, we went on the road to Tell City. Obviously, a long drive.
2-hour drive, about
And we played a completely different Tell City team than Pekin played.
Yes.
You know, they had their stud running back whenever you guys played him. I think his name was Terry or something. And we played him, and they didn't have him. So we thought, okay, there's a chance here.
Yeah.
Tell City's a great football team.
Yes.
You know, their record doesn't show it because they got beat by 50 by Brownstown last week. But they're a good football team. They're a disciplined football team. And one thing that stuck out to me about Tell City is it's true old school football.
Right.
We're going to run the ball over your face. We're not going to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to stop us.
Yeah.
And, you know, you go to Tell City and all their facilities, old. You know, the bathrooms are run down.
Yes.
The locker rooms in the ground.
Yes.
And they said that our locker room smelled like a mold factory. Like, okay, good football, you know?
Yeah.
Grass field.
Yeah.
All the kids are complaining, like, oh, their field's terrible. It's like, until last year, this is what we played on.
Yeah.
You know, this is no different than a Salem field.
Yeah,
the grass is 4 inches tall. There's mud spots all over the field, you know?
Yeah.
We played in a foot of water against Scottsburg my sophomore year at Salem.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think they wanted to use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
And they kept it close. It was 16-15, I think, at halftime.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, there's no excuses other than Tell City played better football than we did. And that was kind of the story of the losses we took this year. The other teams played better football than we did.
I think it's going to stem down to this and be very unpopular thing to say on the radio. Because mine and Brennan's generation were the same generation. They're the last of our generation's a senior in high school right now.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, there was no excuses for anything.
Yeah. No,
excuses run too deep nowadays.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
Make the field's bad. Oh no, the court had a little lump in it.
Yeah.
The field's 4 inches grass tall too, like you said.
Yeah.
Foot of water against
Yeah,
Scottsburg.
you play.
I'm sure you remember that.
Yes.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
there was a hurricane that came through the
Yeah.
East Coast.
Yep.
We played in a foot of water.
Yeah, we were hoping they were going to cancel the game because I was like, man, I don't want to watch this game. It's gonna be-
Scottsburg wouldn't because they didn't think we could beat them running the ball.
Yes.
So we beat them by 40.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, like Eli said, there's excuse not to cut you off, Eli.
No, you're
but
fine.
there is everybody's got an excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, oh, he was holding me. Okay,
Yeah.
that's football.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Exactly.
You
Get
know,
the weight room, get them off of you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm going to touch on that too before I, end this conversation. But like you said, the field's bad. Okay, they never played at West Washington on their, rough grass field.
Right.
And they never played at Salem when we had holes in the field.
Yes.
We had sod on 30 yards of our field at one point because a band from Texas tore it up.
Yeah.
So you were running down the sideline, and literally the ground curled up under your feet, and you went down.
Yeah.
These kids didn't understand, like, okay, you're playing in decent conditions compared to
Yes.
what some of the
You
other
got a
games
turf
have been.
field now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was their excuse is, well, we played on turf all year because, I mean, you look at our schedule, we played North Harrison home, on turf, at Silver Creek, on turf, at Scottsburg, nice grass field, home against Brownstown, on our turf, at Springs Valley, nice grass field, at Corden, turf now, at Pekin, nice grass field. You guys don't have turf yet.
No,
do you?
we're nice Bermuda grass.
Charlestown at home on our turf.
Yeah.
West Washington at home on our turf. Clarksville at home on our turf. Then we went to Tell City, and I mean, they're not a Bermuda grass field.
Right.
It's a true just grass field.
Yeah.
And the kids wanted to use that as an excuse of, oh well, we can't have traction out here. The field's slow. Suck it up.
Yeah.
Did Brownstown play at Tell City this past week?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Brownstown played at Tell City.
Yeah, and they beat them by 49.
They beat them by
Yeah.
49 points.
Exactly.
And they were the first school in our area to get a turf
Yeah.
field.
Exactly. You know what excuse they made? They didn't.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the
because
key.
they didn't. Well, yeah, because they went out there and they were like, okay, yeah, it's a grass field. Cool.
Right.
We're gonna beat them by 45 on their own field.
They take disadvantages as advantages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's we talked about the culture change with Coach Gleason versus Coach Thompson, and you talked about Salem looking bigger and more muscular and more fit. We brought in a couple years ago. We brought in a strength and conditioning coach, and he cared more about being the player's friend than he did an actual strength coach.
Yeah.
Now that he's gone, Coach Gleason's got him control in the weight room,
Yeah.
and he's actually putting him to work. Coach Hartsfield put us to work. We
Right.
were doing hundreds of push-ups every summer day
Yeah.
in our workouts, and these kids didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
They went in there, they lifted a little bit of weight,
Right.
had the wrong form.
Right.
I had one of the coaches at Salem tell me that he told one of the players at Salem, like, hey, that form's not right. And he was like, oh, I think I know what I'm doing. Like, if I would have said that to Coach Hartsfield, I mean, you knew him.
Yeah.
That would have
Oh,
been,
yeah.
oh, my gosh.
Quite
He would have
literally
climbed
mobbed it
up
off
you.
the team.
Yeah,
Yeah, he would have climbed up you and down the other
yeah,
side.
for the ones that don't know about Salem's where our weight room's at, is we have an outdoor concrete track or an indoor concrete track right outside of our weight room. And I would have been running around that until practice ended.
Yes.
And
or until you died.
Yeah, Coach Hartsfield's favorite line was, "You're going to run until I'm tired, and I'm not running, so I'm not going to get tired."
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just the culture shock, I think, that Salem faced last year and this year. Obviously turned their season around. They went from 3-7 or 3-8 to 5-6. Like Eli said, they improved drastically. But you look at their record, 5-game losing streak. 4 really good teams they played. Well, 3 really good teams and Silver Creek and Corden.
Right.
Then they beat 4 teams. We beat 4 bad teams.
Yeah.
Not a single one of those teams I don't think had a winning record this year.
Right.
And we beat North Harrison. They turned their season around. They're still playing. They play. Who is it they play? No, who do they play? Heritage Hills.
Yes.
They play Heritage Hills this week. Probably going to get beat by 40.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect it after we beat North Harrison to make the sectional championship and win it for the first time in school history.
Right.
That was their first ever sectional title. But yeah, Salem just had a extremely up and down season.
Right.
And that's just something that they were so inconsistent. We had one piece of consistency on our team this year, and it was Logan Dent. Kid put up 1,300 yards in 10 games.
Yeah, kid is phenomenal.
Now, here's what stuck out to me, and this is probably the last thing I'll say on because I've been talking forever, is if you look at our stats running the ball this year, Adam Mull, 64 carries. Noah Deaton, 60 carries. Karis Moore, 26 carries. Logan Dent, 178 carries.
That's crazy.
And, that kid's a sophomore.
Yeah.
1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, and he had almost every game he played in was over 100 yards. And I hate it for him, though, because, you can't put a kid like that. He's built. I don't know if you know him.
I do.
He's built. He's, he's built like a fullback, or a running back, I guess I should say. But the issue is him running the ball, 17 times a game. He's going to take hits and he's going to get injured.
Yeah.
We saw him sit a game out this year because he had a shoulder problem. And I think Salem had the athletes that I don't think he should have been running the ball 20 times a game. I think that our offense, I don't necessarily know that our offense fit our players. I think that personally, I know Coach Gleason's been running the same offense his whole career. But I think really the option would have been better fit for our team this year because we had an athletic quarterback who could run the ball.
Yeah. Because Adam can definitely run the ball.
Yeah, we had a fullback. Now he's not going to throw you 400 yards a game.
No.
But he's going to be able to run the ball. We had a fullback in Dent who was just going to cram it into the hole every single time.
Right.
And then we had 2 slot backs that were going to run the ball as hard as you want. Noah Deaton, he's 5'6", 140 pounds, and
he would run the ball
so hard, and he was not scared.
Yeah.
He fumbled one time all year, and it was in Tell City game, and he got hit hard and lost the ball.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't necessarily know that we have. Our offense was designed kind of more of like a run the ball over your face, and we didn't really have that because we can't expect Logan Dent to run the ball 20 times a game.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get since we got Salem wrapped up here. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back, and we'll kind of go over some West Washington stuff. Be right back.
Got land? Want cash? Vital Farms is here to help. Become an egg farmer and we'll set you up with our best-in-class support team, teach you egg farming our way, and compensate you fairly for the eggs you produce. Call 844-494-VITAL today to learn how you can transform tree-filled or underutilized land into cash flow for your family. Again, our number is 844-494-VITAL or apply online at vitalfarms.com/farmers.
We're here at McDonald's Gymnasium, and we're ready for the starting lineup for tonight's big game. The crowd is on their feet, and they're going wild! The team is coming onto the court. Here comes the Quarter Pounder with cheese, along with the Spicy McCrispy and the McDouble. And starting at center tonight will be the Big Mac. And ready to come into the game at any time is the Filet-O-Fish. Look on the sideline, folks. We have chicken nuggets cheering along with the Golden Delicious fries. They're hot and always ready. You'll score points every time you bring the family into McDonald's in Salem, West Baden, and Mitchell before or after the game. Don't forget to top off your favorite meal with a cold soft drink and that one-of-a-kind Mickey D's sweet tea. Or hot or cold coffee drinks from the McCafe. Order inside or drive-thru now with the 2 lanes and use the mobile app for great deals. And get your food delivered at home or at the curbside. You can order at halftime and enjoy that one-of-a-kind taste without missing the next play. Set a pick and roll on into McDonald's today. You'll be loving it too. Drive-thru open from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. And don't forget to catch WSLM's Coach's Corner live at McDonald's in Salem on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. I'm loving it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are back for the final episode of Coach's Corner for 2024 for the football season for Washington County. So we just had a great conversation with Eli and with Brandon about Eastern and about Salem football, and now we're getting ready to get into West Washington football. So, and I was, of course, the announcer for that. So, looking at the West Washington record of 4-7 this year, I don't believe that record showed how good the football team was. You know, when you look at, they would go into, the very first game, lost 6-21 for East Washington. I mean, when those kids came out of the locker room, I could tell you right now, as soon as they walked out of the locker room, I knew Eastern was going to beat West Washington because of the attitude that they had when they walked out. West Washington walked out of the locker room, looked like a bunch of zombies walking out there because they were scared to death. And I asked Gavin and I asked the whole team, I'm like, why was it like that? And they looked at me and they said, we were scared to death because there was only 3 kids on the team that was on varsity football last year. This was all their first varsity football game. Very first football game, so it's like, no wonder they were scared to death, you have, 30 players out there. If they never played varsity football, it's going to take a little bit of time to actually get that built up. So knowing that they only had 6 kids on the team that were seniors this year, and you had 2 of those. One of them actually had a broken leg. He was out pretty early, and then you had Landon, which he had cancer. So you end up with 4. 4 seniors on the football team. Hudson Cress, Alex Houch and Alex Williams. You have very few kids that are going to be able to withstand the longevity of the season. So that game, yes, I mean, I will tell you 100%, knew for a fact Eastern was going to beat West Washington. Next game, go Clarksville, or Clarksville at home. And again, like you said, Brandon, absolutely horrible football team. I think we had JV in a little right after halftime, just because it's like we want to save all the varsity we can for the next game, which was was against Mitchell. So coming out with the number 1 loss against East Washington, and then heck we go on a 3-game winning streak. It's like boom boom boom. Get to Springs Valley. Go to Springs Valley. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. This is going to be a good game. They start putting up points.
Yeah.
I mean, that kid, and you talked about him. He was. You couldn't stop him. And when you tried to stop him, they would run something different. And guess what? That kid that's going to be it's a junior this year. He's going to be a senior next year. But just like I said, with all the losses that Washington County football actually put up this year, look at how many seniors were on our teams versus what was on the other teams. So Springs Valley had 13 seniors on the team. I mean, you have 13 seniors that's played with each other since 4th grade. That's a huge difference. Went to Paoli. Paoli, again, had 15 seniors on the team. No, 17 seniors on the team because they had 2 of them that was actually on the bench. But having that many seniors on the team, they put up 42 to 6 against West Washington. Here's the crazy part about this entire thing. You look at this year to last year, the teams that we lost against, we lost less points than what we did last year. So looking at that, we are getting better and moving in the right direction. Getting more of those kids that are on the junior high, on the youth level, coming up through the program, retaining those kids to where they're playing together and they understand the plays and they understand everything about the team. that's what's going to make a good football program. Just like Brownstown is, 30 years. I mean, that's 30 years of experience right there. And fortunately, West Washington didn't play Brownstown this year because
Lucky you guys.
It was. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's bad. It's bad for anybody that plays. I mean, if you're going to go into a game, and I don't care if it's a sectional championship, regionals, state championship, you better know Brownstown's coming to play. I mean, I know that people are thinking, well, this is just the Brownstown show. No, we're just telling y'all they're that good, and we need the same attitude in Washington County at all three of our schools, just like what they have over in Brownstown.
I think one of the problems is, speaking on that, is going into for West Washington, Springs Valley, Paoli.
Yeah.
Obviously, Paoli went 10-0, lost to Brownstown in the
Yeah.
in the second round of the sectional. And then Springs Valley, great football team. The running back actually is still second in the state,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they've been out since week 1.
Yeah.
Pekin and Salem, it's Brownstown. Difference is Brownstown goes into and Paoli, and Silver Springs Valley goes into every game. We're going to win this game by 40.
Absolutely.
West Washington goes into Springs Valley, Paoli. Salem, Pekin go into Brownstown. We're going to lose this game by 40.
Yeah.
And that's just, like you said, the culture difference. And, those good teams like that, the teams that go 10-0, 11-0, they don't go into a game thinking they're going to lose, ever.
Right.
I think the the attitude behind the athletic departments also changed. The thing I know about Brownstown, and I'm not sure if 100% true or not, but they're required to have a weights class at Brownstown if you're an athlete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Salem's the same way.
Advanced PE, yeah.
Yeah, Salem's
like
the
that.
same way.
But the way I see it is, Salem may be the same way, and they're obviously showing better results than Eastern is, or West Washington is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Brownstown showing all these great results is like they're always working no matter if they're in season or not.
Right.
They're conditioned year-round because they're in a weights class or advanced PE, what you want to call it, year-round. They're doing sports-related stuff year-round, rather than just sitting around eating junk food, playing video games, watching TV, like many different athletes do. They're required to do these kinds of things at Salem. You may not see it immediately, but like we mentioned earlier in the show, it takes years to build programs. It doesn't take less like a 1 week.
Right.
It takes years.
Coach Hartsfield went 3-7 his first year.
Yeah.
Right.
He went 3-7, 4-6, 5-5, and then after those 3 years, we went 6-4, 6-5, 6-4. Like, he lost for 3 years in a row, but it takes 3 years to rebuild a program.
Right.
And he turned it around. Didn't have a losing season the rest of his time at Salem.
Exactly. And that strings off of having the right attitude behind anything.
Right.
The coaches have to. It all starts with the coaches. I'm not saying the coaches are the 100% the fault for everything that happens bad, or anything that happens good. It's just it all comes down to the coaches having the right attitude going into things, wanting to build the culture the way that they know it, and the way that it should be built. Like Brandon mentioned earlier, a way to coach at Salem was more interested in being the friends with the athletes rather than actually being their coach. And that comes back to any athletic coach. Need to be their coach first, and not even friend second, not anything second, just never a friend at all.
And I can see that point, but then again, I kind of have to disagree with just one point of what you said there. I think that the coaches is 100% the reason you win and lose a game. The reason being is because if you look at the kids that you have to go, okay, what plays can I run with the kids that I have? And if you don't have that mentality and you can't go, okay, you can't adjust on the fly, like, with the games that we lost from Springs Valley, Paoli, North Davies to Perry Central, it was all exactly the same thing. We're going to run it up the middle. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's turn it right around and run it right back up the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the same mentality I have seen with all of these teams. And whether it's West Washington, Salem, or Pekin, we need to have a coach that adjusts sometimes every single play, or to have a quarterback that goes, okay, they're lining up in a 6-2 versus a 4-4, what they were at a while ago. Well, since they're a 6-2, and you have a guy that's inside shade on the right hand side, guess what? I can actually pitch it off to my right slot back, and he can do something with the ball. But we saw the same thing at West Washington. It was run the same thing. It's not working. Let's run it again. I never understood that whole concept of if it doesn't work, why do we keep running?
Well, and that's again to bring up Brownstown. Coach May he's adjusting all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate to keep using Brownstown as an example, but they're by far the best football program in the area.
They are.
And
Yes.
it's a perfect example, you know. And if every team modeled after Brownstown, every team in our area would be good.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
me and Shockey, we said one time, we said, what we want to do is get a sign made for every Salem football team, football member when I was heavy into Salem, that said 2 words, beat Brownstown. And we wanted every kid that played on the team to put it in a room. And that's what they wanted to focus on. Because you beat Brownstown, you've done something.
You get respect, you know. If you
Yes.
beat Brownstown Southern Indiana, you get respect.
Yes.
And like I was continue my point is, you know, we were beating Brownstown or tied with them the 3 years I started every year at halftime.
Right.
My junior year at Brownstown, it might have been, I don't know. I think it was my senior year at Brownstown. No, sophomore year. We're tied 21-21 at halftime. We hadn't been in that position in 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, we come out, first play, we score a touchdown. I run down the sideline, we go up 28-21.
Right.
The shock on the Brownstown kids of like, oh, now what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, Coach May takes a timeout. Next thing you know, they're blitzing 8 every single play.
Yeah.
Because they were fast enough, they were disciplined enough, and we ran the option, but we ran more of a spread option. You know, I threw the ball 20 times a game.
Right.
And it was more of, okay, we're blitzing 8, you don't have time to throw.
Yeah.
Our athletes are good enough to cover your receivers, and you're most definitely not going to run the ball.
Right.
So, you know, we would go up 28-21, we'd lose 42-28.
Right.
Because we could not get an offense after that.
Yeah. So, you know, you look at these coaches and, you know, you think, okay, well, what's going to change? So I believe there's 2 things. I believe there's a coach and there's a play caller.
Yeah.
And when you're a play caller, that means you don't understand the true understanding of the game of football.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to go, I need to adjust, and I'm going to adjust. And, you know, you look at, you know, going from a 3-game or a 2-game winning streak to then, you know, lose, win against Crawford County. You could have went in there with my middle school team and beat Crawford County. I mean, it was 34-0. I mean, it was just absolutely horrible.
They did beat Clarksville. They did get a win this year.
Yes. Well, you know what's crazy is it's probably the best Crawford County team I have ever seen. Because one thing I did notice is we only beat them 34-0, and they were actually doing some pretty good job actually stopping us and that type of thing. Then we go to Salem. I mean, okay, so we talked about this. We talked about this, you know, during the commercial break. You know that, you know, when that game was getting ready to happen, everyone thought, hey, you know, this is going to be a good game.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, this is going to be a good game. What happened? We got beat 34-7.
Yeah, and I never would have expected that. Obviously, Coach Lowry, great coach.
Yeah.
You know, he's been at Paoli, he's been at Salem, he's been at West Washington, he's been at LaPorte.
Yeah.
I think it was LaPorte.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And, I mean, he's been at big schools, he's been at small schools. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
And it's just, that did not look like a Jeremy Lowry football team.
No. It's like, and just like I said, what did they do? They ran the ball up the middle, knowing you have, and you have Noah Dalton that literally was, you know, inside linebacker. There was no way you were going to get past that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. He is good enough to where you're going to sit there and watch him. You know he's going to watch the football, find out where the football's going, and he's going to get you. Gavin ran the ball twice, the game. 19 yards of carry. You know, he did a great job running the ball. Didn't let him throw the ball. We kept running up the middle. It doesn't work. You can't continue to run that play if it continues not to work.
I agree with you. You know, I expected Gavin to throw the ball a little bit more in that game. But if I understand it from Coach Lowry's side of, you know, we're going to run the ball over the face. Because you look at us, and I'm going to steal your paper real quick for a second. Coming into that game, we got ran all over by Corden. We got ran all over by Springs Valley. We got ran all over by Brownstown. We got ran all over by Scottsburg. We got thrown all over against Silver Creek. And we got thrown all over against Scottsburg as well as ran on. And, you know, coming into that game, I can understand Coach Lowry thinking, like, we're going to run the ball over their face. But then that was one of the best games the Lions played on defense this year. And there was just no adjustment there, which I think Coach Lowry's a great coach. I have nothing bad to say about him. I just didn't really understand the play calling there of, you know, what was going on.
Yeah, you know, when you look at that game, You know, look at those two games. Crawford County, we beat them, 34-0. Go to Salem, we get beat 34-7. Go to the next week, sectional week. Go to South Decatur. Not a bad program. Not a bad program at all. We beat them 40 to nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, but you look at the team that went to Salem and played, and you look at the team that went to South Decatur and played, and I'm not kidding you, it was like literally watching a middle school team play a varsity team at Salem, and then you look at what we were going against at South Decatur. It was the opposite. It was like we were playing great football, passing the ball, catching the ball. It was unbelievable on how good we were doing. Then go to Milan. Have Milan come to West Washington. Same thing. It's like we turned right back into the Salem team. We turned right back into the team that Salem beat us so bad by, because we kept trying to run the same play. And it's it's kind of a common joke around that that the quarterback for West Washington is literally the quarterback has more weight than the fullback does. West Washington, it's like, what do you do there? Well, you can't make Gavin a fullback because he's the only quarterback you got.
Yeah.
So, it just seems like to me that a lot of things on all Washington County football, we're building the programs the way they need to be built. A lot of things need to be changed.
Yeah.
And hopefully all the coaches within the Washington County system can look at this and go, you know what? Things do need to change.
Well, to touch on your point there, about running the ball, it's running the same plays over and over. I don't 100% fault Coach Lowry for that. Obviously, play calling difference. But one thing that stands out to me is you talked about the joke of running the same play.
Yeah.
That was the joke when we were in high school.
Yeah.
We were coming to the game. We were going to run mid-right, mid-left, veer right, veer left.
Yeah.
But we looked at it. We looked at it as, okay, we're going to come into this. We're going to primarily run 3 or 4 plays.
Yeah.
We're going to run it well enough. These teams aren't going to stop us.
Right.
West Washington, every single year, I didn't run the ball. Caleb Murphy at the end and Jacob Strange on the other side made sure I did not run the ball.
Yeah.
So what we did was I looked at Lane Price or Corey Akers and I said, okay, you guys are going to run the ball here, and you just better run it well.
Yeah.
Because if not, we're going to lose this game.
Right.
And up front, my offensive line was incredible every year. And I looked at them in the huddle, first huddle of the game. We're going to run the ball. You guys need to block for it. And that's just what they did. So I think a little bit of that fault, goes back to I don't think the team had kind of a wake-up moment of, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're buying into this. We're going to do it well. And I think that's a thing we could say for all 3 programs.
See, I believe in Coach Lowry.
No,
100%,
really yeah.
I believe in Coach Gleasing.
Yeah.
I've had several conversations with both of them. I can't really say anything about TJ because honestly, I've never talked to the man. I know you have. Never talked to the man. But from what I saw the very first game for Eastern, there was something to believe there. Knowing that, now, is it the rest of the program?
Well, the way I saw it, so this season, the first game of the year, let's go back to last season.
Mm-hmm.
Last season, they were 5-6. Season before that, I don't think they won a game.
Yeah.
They beat us last year.
Yeah. Well, it was very controversial.
Yeah,
but on the record, a win.
Yeah.
They
a
won.
win's a win.
It's a win.
Yeah,
a win's a win. But anyway, back then, it was because they had wide receivers coming into play.
Right.
You said Eastern did the same thing for 9 years. Like you said, veer right, veer left, right the middle. If they got lost 3 yards in the middle run, hey, let's do it again. Let's see if we trick them this time.
Yeah.
Didn't trick them. So we lose those plays, and then the year after we got receivers. We got people that could catch the ball.
Yeah.
We had a quarterback that always could throw the ball. He had a heck of an arm. I refer to him as 10 gauge every once in a while. He'd throw the ball 40, 50 yards in the air.
Yeah.
40, 50 yards in the air. So now that they can catch the ball, they have options.
Yeah.
They ran the ball one play, okay, didn't get nothing there. The defense is expecting to run the next time until they did it for 9 years.
Yeah.
Oh, let's throw over the top one time.
Yeah.
Because they'd be up in man coverage.
Right.
All you had to
exactly.
do is beat them on the sprint, and boom, you got a long shot touchdown.
And that's what I said about when during the West Washington Salem game. I'm like, hey, you know what? They stay so close. Because the free safety, which was Adam most of the time, he wasn't really that far back.
No.
And you get Hayden Morrow out on a go route, man, I tell you what, and Gavin throwing the ball to him.
You could take the top off of Salem's
Yes.
secondary almost every single play, and that's what Scottsburg did.
Yeah.
You know, they sent 2 kids deep, and so all of a sudden our secondaries turned around back to the quarterback, sprinting down the field.
Yes.
They run a little, in route or a little drag route across the middle. They throw the ball 10 yards, and it turns into a 40-yard play.
Exactly.
Right.
And, take back to what Eli said about Pekin and running the same stuff for 9 years and then having to change. When we were in high school, you had one of the best athletes in the county. You had Demetrius McKinley,
Yeah.
who was an incredible athlete. It's just he didn't have anybody to throw to him.
Right.
You had a couple quarterbacks who just could not throw the ball that well. And so for him, he was in an offense of where he was kind of thrown into it, kind of like Logan Dent, of, okay, you're going to be our offense. Hopefully you win us games.
Yeah.
And, I hate that for him because he was a great athlete. We tried to get him to move to Salem every year.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a great asset for me to throw the ball to because the kid was faster than everybody. He chased me down from 40 yards behind.
Most of his touchdowns came from kickoff returns.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
the kid was an incredible athlete, but that ties into kids not buying into programs, kids not getting into positions they need to be
Right.
in, and the coaching not putting kids in positions where they need to be.
Right.
Right. And and then looking back up to this season, Coach Newton tried to implement that same stuff this first game of the year. The receiver they had last year was Caden Temple, astronomical athlete. He's playing football at Franklin right now.
Yeah.
His first year ever playing football was last season. He's already got a college scholarship for it.
Right.
And he made so many good plays last season that he thought he could take the top off. Like you mentioned, playing up in man coverage.
Yeah.
He makes a double move. He goes back to it, and boom, he's gone.
Right.
And then the free safety has to pick somebody.
Right.
And if there's 2 people going at the same time, has to pick somebody. Either way, you're losing. Because there's 1 of you and 2 of them.
Right.
Touchdown every time. They scored 3 touchdowns in one game on that same play.
Yeah.
And then this year, they lost those receivers. And he had the Cody Bennett trying to throw the ball this season. Didn't work very well. You had the check down over to Braden Jones. He caught every once in a while, but he always get hit right as he caught it.
Right.
Because the lead blockers didn't have any blocking experience, I guess I could say.
Then he
outside
got
the-
hurt, and that was a total different
Right.
offense.
Yeah.
Right, and the offense kind of fluctuated after that point because either Cody Bennett had to run it on a QB draw or QB sneak right up the middle on third down and short or second, whatever, on short downs, or you try to launch them up to the corner and get picked off every time because the receiver has no urge to fight to catch the ball.
Right.
Those seniors receivers last year were just astronomical. You had Chandler Dukes out there catching balls. You had Caden Temple out there catching them. They were 2 that they single-handedly got touchdowns, scored all touchdowns for the team that season.
Right.
And then when the defense was expecting a pass, Braden Jones would get a 40, 50-yard run. Because no matter how fast he is, he may not be very fast, but gosh dang, he can bulldoze people.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
his whole game is bulldozing. He's maybe not very finessing moves, but gosh dang, he can bulldoze.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest thing I can see about that kid.
Right.
Doesn't matter if he can finesse anybody. He can just bulldoze them. He's getting 40 to 50 yards every play if they expect that to pass. They could last season. That's why they won 5 games. And now this year they only won
Right.
1 game.
Right.
And that's how it was for us, We had a fullback who was 6'2", 6'3", 240.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to outrun the defense,
Right.
but he was going to run over everybody.
Right.
And then I was our second leading rusher every year behind our fullback. And then if we wanted to run the ball, or if we couldn't run the ball, we were going to send Evan Brishaber.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to run with him.
Right.
He was going to run 50 yards down the field. I was going to throw the ball as far as I could, and he was going to catch it.
Right.
And from looking at the 3 teams, is they don't have teams anymore. They don't have athletes that can do that anymore.
Right.
They don't have teams that are well-rounded enough, really. Or I guess I shouldn't say aren't well-rounded enough, but they don't have kids who are bought in well enough to be that kind of like, okay, this didn't work, let's do this. Okay, that didn't work, let's do this now.
But I think also when you look at not buying in, you also look at you have 5 seniors on the team.
Yeah, I think we
4
had
seniors on the
7,
team. We
7 or 8 this year. I think.
And, we had 6 seniors on the team. That is the whole not buying in.
Yeah.
I mean, Hudson Crest at the beginning of the year, he's like, I'm not playing because I'm just not gonna play. And then all of a sudden he's like, he came onto it, it's like, oh, I want to play now. And so he comes in, is a phenomenal football player, and got the job done. Well, so I just wonder if these coaches are going to turn around and look and go, okay, what do we need to change next year? Because I can tell you at this point, looking at this piece of paper here, at all of our seasons, West Washington 4-7, Pekin 1-9, Salem 5-6. I don't care how far you go in a sectional championship. You don't win a sectional championship with that kind of record.
No.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, you're getting beat by teams you shouldn't be getting beat by. Springs Valley. We both got beat by Springs Valley.
Phenomenal football team.
Yeah, phenomenal football team. Why? They got 12 seniors on the team. Every one of them, they are packed with seniors, and that's the reason we get beat over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, we had 15, 16, 17 seniors
Yes.
my senior class.
Yes.
And, you know, Coach Hart, a difference that I've noticed now, and we've talked about buying in. I don't know that Coach Newton did this. I know for a fact that Jeremy does this, and I don't know if Coach Gleason does. I don't think so. Difference was we had 16, 17 seniors, but we started with Coach Hartsfield in 5th grade.
Yes.
He was at all of our youth league
Absolutely.
practices. He was at every middle school game. And I don't see that anymore. And that's where, especially for Salem, probably for Pekin as well, probably for West Washington as well. Now, Coach Lowry does get out there with the youth kids and the younger kids.
Yes.
But for us you have to build the Salem and Pekin program from when those kids are old enough to play football.
Right.
You know, if Coach Hartsfield would have been around when I was in 3rd grade, he would have been there from 3rd grade.
Right.
And he looked at me my 5th grade year. I was on Ryan Laramore's team, and my 6th grade year. He looks at me and he goes, "This is your last game playing running back." And I go, "What?" Because that's all I had ever played.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're going to be a quarterback." He goes, "You're going to be my quarterback in high school."
Yeah.
And I go, "Coach, I've never played quarterback in my life." He had never seen me. But he goes, "Okay, but with my offense, you're going to fit. You're going to learn how to throw the ball. That's
Right.
okay."
Right.
But I don't see the coaches nowadays, other than Jeremy, doing that, of getting out to, you know, the 3rd and 4th grade level and working with those kids. You know, those kids want to feel special. We did youth camps. We did all kinds of stuff. Those kids want to see the high school kids at their practices, because that's the kids they look up to.
Absolutely.
You know, you talked about Gavin following me around. Gavin was around me starting when he was in 3rd grade.
That's right.
And it worked its way up through the program, and we had kids every year. Pekin had a bunch of seniors my senior year. West Washington had a ton of seniors my senior year and the year after. We had 16 or 17. There was 13 or 14 in the class below me, because those kids were in it from the beginning with Coach Hartsfield, and Coach Hartsfield stayed long enough to get those kids out of the program.
So looking at West Washington football, so looking at all of our programs, you know, looking at, you know, let's look at Pekin first thing, first year. They had Luke for 9 years. Luke could not figure out, a great principal, football coach, not so a big a fan of, just the standpoint of he couldn't get everybody to buy into the program. Salem, you look at Salem, you've had, you know, Coach Hart, RJ. RJ was there for what, 8 years?
7 or 8 years.
He was there for 7 or 8 years. By the time you were a senior, boom, you know, you guys were almost winning sectional championships.
And we had kids that, you know, they didn't play football.
No.
Shane Mahiran, for example.
Yeah.
Shane was a phenomenal athlete. Great receiver. He missed his junior year because of a high ball that I threw, and he got injured and was out the whole season. But
your fault.
yeah, I will 100% take the blame on that. It was a simple out route, and I threw it about 4 yards too high.
Yeah.
But he didn't play until middle school.
Yeah.
You know, Coach Hartsfield came over. He started weights. Now, this is probably not ideal, but we started lifting in 5th grade.
Yeah.
You know, and he would walk to the elementary school. There was a group of us that waited there,
Right.
and he would walk us back
Yeah.
to the high school to lift. You don't see that anymore. You know, these coaches aren't. I don't know about Jeremy, but I don't think Coach Gleason's getting over to the elementary school. It's like, hey, you know, we're doing agility training after school. Why don't you athletes come over? You'll love it.
And see, I don't know if there's something changed within the ISHAA to make it to where they're not allowed to do anything until 8th grade. I don't know.
There isn't. I've had all the papers about it. The IHSAA doesn't give any rules on that other than you're not allowed during limited conduct hours, 3 hours or 2 days a week. That's all. That's all they limit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine them limiting the contact. Now I know
that's the only reason I would say that the reason Coach.
Now I
Gleason's
know
not doing
from
it.
like high school to college, there's, you know, that's a very strict thing, and I dealt with that. You know, as soon as that time hits, there's coaches calling you.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, kind of like Eli said, and he would know more about it than we would because he's a coach. But as far as I know, it's pretty much open for. Now I know that there was like the dead weeks, the moratorium weeks, where you can't have really any contact with your team you have now.
Yeah.
And or at least for football, I don't know about track.
You
but,
cannot. No. It's
yeah,
dead week for the whole state.
Yeah, so
Everything.
you can't do that. But other times, I think it's pretty much free reign, and I don't think all of our coaches, I don't think at least Coach Gleason and Coach Newton, I don't think they take full advantage of it.
Right. So you got, you know, you have, you know, Jeremy, he's been with the program. You know, like I said, you know, Brian's been there for 2 years. Still a long ways to go. You know, Coach Lowry, he has been there. You know, when Coach Bowsman passed away, you know, they had an interim coach. Then here come Jeremy.
Yeah.
Since then, he has been at the youth level because his kids, what was it, 6th grade this year.
Yeah.
So next year he's moving up to middle school. So he's been there for the last 2 or 3 years, but he hasn't been there that long either. So he's still building the program up. You look at the middle school team for West Washington this year. There was 26 players on 8th grade.
Yeah.
26 players on 7th grade. So, you're going to get to a point to where you're going to have a varsity, a JV, and a 9th grade team.
Well, and one thing that stuck out to me about speaking about that is last summer I helped Coach Bowers, Wes, and Andrew with the middle school program a little bit, and there was high school kids there. Kenton Chase, the quarterback last year.
Yes.
He was out there, and he was asking me questions, because they went to the option.
Right.
And he's like, hey, I know you ran this in high school. What about this? And I'm helping him. I'm helping the middle school kids.
Right.
I'm helping Andrew, and I'm helping Wes understand that offense a little bit more. Coach Lowry's there. He's out there. He's helping the kids. And all these kids are getting super excited. They're getting coached from the high school coach. They're getting coached from the varsity players. He's bringing out popsicles for the kids. And it was just a whole different culture there. And that was the freshman class now, so the McFeeters class and all them. And that class is good at football.
Right.
That class is very good. There was a bunch of them. That freshman class is big. By the time they're seniors, the groups under them, as long as they stay with it, they're going to have a big program. And they're going to have a very good program. I said last year, and now, obviously, this is what I saw from strictly the 8th grade and 7th grade teams. I watched them 2 games. I said West Washington has a chance to win state championship by the time Xander McFeeters graduates.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think next year is going to be a huge difference from what it was this year, just because of numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers alone, I think they're going to have quite a few other kids to actually choose from. That the program is building. Unfortunately, I don't think Eastern's going to be there. Just to the standpoint of they're still such in the infancy stage of building.
Well, they're not getting excited about the game.
Right.
So I refereed the youth league for them for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There was only 2, maybe 3 high school athletes there. Only 2 coaches from the team.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the head coach either. It was Coach Knight and then Coach Moore,
right.
the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. I believe the lines coach. Only 2 of them were there, and then none of the high school athletes were getting involved. And those two high school athletes that were there with me were helping me referee the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they weren't even getting excited, getting involved with the youth programs. The youth program wasn't even excited about it. They were just there because they were on the team. They weren't there because they actually were excited. Hey, we're going to get some involvement from the high school athletes. They're going to show us what Eastern football is about.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the past 9 years, they've shown you what it's about. They're not going to be there for you.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. That's where it stems from.
Yeah, and that's what we did. Coach Hartsfield made us. There was a sheet every week. There was a sign-up sheet.
That.
Who's working chains? Now the seniors, we didn't really do it, but I refed. I had a couple other friends that refed, and the difference is you had high school kids reffing. Now, obviously, there was coaches from other schools that didn't like that, but who cares?
We had some of your classmates that was actually coaching with us when we were coaching the youth league.
We were getting involved. You had kids working the chains. You had kids working the clock. You had kids just there to hang out. Yeah. And although those kids saw it, that was Gavin when he was in youth league. Hudson Kress, it blows my mind. He's a senior because I remember him in youth league.
Right.
Him and what's his last name's Dennison. Isaac. Is that his name? Isaiah.
Isaiah, yeah.
Isaiah.
Yeah, Dennis, yeah.
Yeah, and all of them. And I remember them from youth league.
Yeah.
And I'm calling their high school games now, and it just blows my mind. And another thing, this is an unpopular opinion you guys may not you may disagree with. I hate that they have made the youth league program conference based. I
didn't even know it was like that.
So Salem doesn't play West Washington. I don't even know if Salem plays Pekin anymore.
Yeah, they do.
They do? Okay. Yeah. So it's all conference based. Why do we have 3rd and 4th graders going to Charlestown?
Okay, so that's a conversation for definitely another time, and I would love to get in that conversation with you, but not tonight. I'll tell you what, let's do this. It's been a great show tonight. I mean, it's probably been one of the best ones I've done all year, and what I would like to do is go ahead and have you guys on. I'd like to have you on again next year whenever we're doing Coach's Corner. Maybe at the beginning of the year we could do a before season, and we can go over what we see is coming up. And it causes us to do a little bit of homework too to actually look at what the team looks like.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you this, we're all 3 of us just to let everyone know, none of us get paid to do this. We do this completely 100% voluntary basis. And
the love of sports.
And
we love being around it.
We're absolutely idiots because we love it so much. We're doing this for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're welcome, Becky. And but I can tell you, it's so much fun. It's so much enjoyment. You know, I have a kid that's going to be a senior next year, and me and Tara have talked. I'm coaching middle school football. I mean, how stupid am I? I'm coaching middle school football. I don't have a kid on the team, but guess what? I love it so much and I love teaching these kids. And I mean, heck, even when I was, coaching, Gavin and Grayson, when I was a kid, it was exactly the same way. I loved it so much. So let's get together next year, before season, we're going to get together and we're going to do another show like this and just kind of see how everything's going to kick off next year.
I do want to also say, we said, you're welcome, Becky.
Yeah.
But we also got to appreciate Becky and Greg and what they do.
Absolutely.
We do a volunteer basis, but they put so much time into this. I'm taking them the soundboard and they're updating it. And, if we got problems, they're immediately there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We had some problems. I think the first Ryan and I did it one week, and we could not figure something out. And so I'm on the FaceTime with Greg for 20 minutes before the game, and they do it because they love doing it.
Yeah.
They're we're invested. They're just as much as invested. And obviously our thanks go out to them for making it pretty smooth for us to do every week.
I was talking to Greg a few months ago about their schedule, what they do for radio stuff. He said that they're usually at 6 a.m. at the radio station putting things together for the radio show that day, and they're not done until about 6 or 7 p.m. that night.
Right.
12 hours of radio stuff, and we're out here doing this small portion for them. We got to give praise to them a lot on what they do. Who cares? We do it for free. We love the sport. They love radio. Yeah. Why not combine the two? Here we are.
And Greg's texting me on. I was off on Fridays.
Yeah.
I took off because you see our schedule. We traveled a lot.
Absolutely.
We went to Tell City. That's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
We got to be there, early.
Right.
And Greg's texting me at 6 a.m. on my on my day off.
Yeah.
And because he's excited about the game. He's excited about getting us out there to be able to do it. So I mean, obviously, they're putting in even way more time than we are.
Right.
And so obviously our thanks go out to the White family and making it as smooth as possible as they can.
And there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff they got to do too. I know Greg has to call every school and get clearance for us to be there.
Right.
Give us up. He has to contact the IHSAA during sectional
for sectional.
Time. Yep. To get us cleared for sectional stuff.
And they actually pay to get the rights for the game.
Right.
Yes,
they do.
They have to pay for it and they have to put an application in for
exactly.
it. Which I did not know.
Yep. Yeah. They put in a lot of work for this, and they pay a lot of money for it. But it's all coming for benefit.
Yep,
here we are.
absolutely.
Look, we're combining all of it. Here we are.
Yeah, exactly. So hey guys, thanks very much for the show tonight. And hey, just to let everyone know, thank you for joining in and listening to us. I know we went way long tonight, but there's a lot to cover at the end of the season.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Let's make final points here.
Yeah.
While we're on the radio next year, all of us.
Yeah.
Before anybody gets mad at anything we do on the broadcast, so we're not there one night. We're someone's not saying the right things. We're messing up some stuff. Remember, this is all technical stuff. It doesn't always going to work. We're all doing this off of hope that it's all going to work in one night.
We lost our broadcast twice this year.
Exactly.
The call ended one time.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, the way that works for at least us is I Bluetooth my phone to this box, I call into the radio station, and that's how it's done. Our call failed one night, and then we went completely silent one night. Me and Zach's phones were blown up like, hey, you have no sound. And we're like, what do we do?
Yeah.
So obviously with all technology, we just turned it off and turned it back on.
Right.
So
I did a little bit of live stream this year, and last year I used a computer. I used StreamYard, do different animations and stuff, and that requires Wi-Fi to every place I go to. If it doesn't have Wi-Fi, I have to use my phone signal. And
that's a mess.
And when we're at Crawford County, I had to use a phone signal.
Yeah.
There isn't any phone signal in Crawford County, so I had to rig something up to make it actually work. I had to cut everything off from my phone, but my computer, and connect to the live stream, and then try to get some animations on there and make sure it worked the whole night. I lost stream twice that night, and at Eastern I lost it twice, having technical issues, and people are getting upset at us. I'm like, we're doing this off free will. We're trying to figure.
Yeah.
We're doing.
We're sending you the game,
right?
And we're volunteering to do it. So
right. If you want the game so bad, we'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I enjoy doing it. I'm gonna miss it till next year.
Oh, fantastic! And again, like I said, everybody, thank you for joining in. And as always, it's Coach's Corner. God bless, and watch out for deer. Good night, everybody.